Hello! So today I figured I would do a April reading wrap-up. So just going through the 10 books that I read in April. It was a little bit of a slower month in the sense that I read a lot of shorter romances because I wanted to expand, or just try out, whatever you want to call it, the genres of romance that I read, because I mainly stick to paranormal and historical. And I thought, hey, wouldn't it be fun to sample some other subgenres of romance and just see what I think, see if I like them, that kind of thing. And yeah, it was a bit of an interesting month. So I'm going to start off with the only werewolf romance that I read. It was called Alpha's Betrayal by Skye Wilson. The way I picked this book to read is I typed in werewolf romance into Kindle and then picked the thing closest to the top that didn't look non-con-y. Let's just put it that way. So this is the summary of the book. A mate is forever until they reject you. Luna is sick of being an outcast. As the illegitimate daughter of a high-ranking official and her mother gone, she's never felt wanted. Finding her fated mate was supposed to change everything. She's known for 6 years that she and Marnette are mates, and tonight at the moon mate ceremony, it's time for him to stop acting like a playboy alpha and claim her as his. Only he does the exact opposite and humiliates her publicly with his brutal rejection. Then Luna is taken by Ramus, another alpha whose clan launches a surprise attack during the ceremony. He's captured all the other alphas except one, Marnette. Now Luna has a choice: lead the enemy to Marnette or protect her mate. Ramus treats her better than Marnette ever did, but Luna is convinced Ramus is only using her to get what he wants. Marnette is still her mate, although it wouldn't be the first time she's been wrong about love. So, yeah, that's the book. I don't have tons to say about it. It was fine, I guess. I found the main character, Luna, to be incredibly grating. I get it, you know, this is her mate, but she's also like 26 or something. Like, you're kind of past the point of being like a hormonal teenage girl, but he's my first love. Girl, you're 26. Ramus, the like other alpha, is fine. I may or may not read the second book. I don't know if I care enough about what happens to these characters to read it, but Ramus was a pretty decent character. He had this one moment that just really doesn't sit right with me, where he talks about how he's gonna go and capture and possibly kill all of these other alphas so he can like take over territory, and one of the people is like a very old friend of his that he like thinks about sparing and then is like, nah, I'm not going to. And I don't know, that didn't sit right with me. If you're trying to paint him as like kind of the foil to Marnette, I just would not have kept that character trait in personally, but what do I know? This really isn't a genre I read very often, so I don't know like the tropes and what's normal and what's sort of expected out of the male heroes. But yeah, it was fine, I guess. I think this may not be the subgenre of romance for me, but yeah, I might try a different book if anyone has like a good recommendation for one. Oh, and the only other thing, so Luna, like I said, is kind of frustrating. She's still mooning over this like evil ex of hers that like leaves her for dead. And I just don't understand, and maybe once again, maybe this is a thing in the genre, but like the fact that he could treat her so poorly and she's still like, but it's fated. It's like, okay, girl, but he's like preparing to kill you in front of everybody. Like, that's just wild, okay? I don't know why there would be any love left for this man. Anyway, that's the first book. We're just gonna move on. The second book I'm going to talk about, I'm going to talk about my small dip into contemporary romance. I read 2 contemporary romances this month. The first one is Take Me to the River by Casey Rose. This is the summary. What's a girl to do when she finds a big sexy giant bathing in the river? Emily. Who leaves their girlfriend in the woods after a fight? My now ex-boyfriend, that's who. One fight, okay, a big fight, because I found out he was cheating on me while we were camping and poof, he left me in the woods. So I start walking to town, only I get turned around, end up at the river where I meet Axel. This guy is huge. With a storm rolling in, I don't have much choice but to trust him and take shelter in his cabin, since I've been walking for hours away from town. Several days of rain wash out the road and it looks like I'm stuck here with my giant. Only he's nothing like I thought he'd be. He's quiet, watchful, smart, and funny. Axel. I've lived alone for years and I've been okay with that until one day she finds me bathing at the river. She's small, cute, and talks a lot. I find I don't mind it. When the storm washes out the only road into town and she is stranded with me a while longer, only I am grateful for more time with her. I like her in my space. I like showing her what I do and how I survive out here. I like her in my bed. After years of living alone, I find little appeal in it anymore. When her ex-boyfriend shows up at my door, can I convince her to stay? Can I ask her to give up a life in town for one out here in the mountains with me? This is a steamy, gentle giant mountain man romance, no cliffhangers. As always, there is a satisfying happily ever after. If you love steamy romances with hot love scenes, mountains, rivers, and mountain men, then this one is for you. I would have DNF'd it, but I bought it and I like to finish books. There's nothing really wrong with it. Definitely wasn't for me. I just was bored by about 40% of the book through. I get it. He's big and the muscles bulge and he's hot and she's cute and tiny. But that's like all that they're related. Like there is like more to them than that, but that really felt like that was the main thing. And I don't know, I just wasn't really into it. I think the fact that like it's her ex-boyfriend showing up and then getting Axel arrested because he like kidnapped her, being the big climactic ending was just kind of like, really? And okay, I'll just say this. So, Emily, like the main girl, her whole thing is that she doesn't really have a life or family that she like cares about enough to like go back. So she can just pick up and move in with Axel, no problem. Like it's not really a big concern. Her ex-boyfriend works at the same place she does, and she's gonna quit her job and live with Axel and like make fairy lights out of aluminum cans. And I would like, I don't know, I am all for women getting like the happy endings where they don't have to like sacrifice a bunch of stuff, but like there is no stakes. There's just no stakes. There's no, oh, now you're living in the mountains. Oh no. Oops. It just felt really anticlimactic. Axel's a little weird about her like going outside without him. I'm not sure if that's like I don't know where this was set, like mountain somewhere, but like, is it that dangerous that she can't step outside of the cabin for 2 seconds? I don't know. Whatever. I know there's like 3 more books in this series all about like Axel's friends, and the second book actually sounded kind of interesting, but I've been burned with that before and I think I'm just not going to bother because I'm probably going to start reading it and get bored just because these just aren't doing it for me. So there's that. That's about it. There's not a lot more that I have to say about this book. The other contemporary romance I read is called Fight for Me by Sloane Peterson. I actually liked the story in this one. It's a contemporary friends to lovers romance, and it also involves the unplanned, unexpected pregnancy trope, which I'm pretty neutral on as a general rule. I thought it was implemented okay here. I'll read the summary. So, it says, my best friend since childhood, an unplanned pregnancy, and I can't seem to keep myself out of trouble. I've been fighting my whole life, long before making it as a professional. Now I'm a top of my game MMA fighter, but I can't stop making headlines, and not for good reasons either. I can be a bit of a loose cannon. Evelyn Ward has been my best friend since we were kids. She's the only person willing to deal with me in the mess that follows me around. I never thought I would develop deeper feelings for her, but those feelings hit me like a semi-truck. An accidental night of passion between us changes everything when Evelyn ends up pregnant. I knocked up my best friend. Oh my god. Now I just need to keep my nose clean, but that's a hell of a lot easier said than done. So that's the summary for that one. like I said, I actually liked the story all right. My actual biggest issue is the fact that from one paragraph to another, with no like line break or anything like that, there would be like time skips that got really weird to navigate, and almost every single time it pulled me right out of the story, and I had to be like, wait, what the fuck is happening? Back up, like you're reading the paragraph, you're like, wait, what the fuck? She was just here and now, and then you realize it's a time skip, and you're like, oh, for fuck's sake. Line breaks, utilize them. Not the end of the world, but it was just something that really like sticks out to me. The characters were fine. I found Evelyn to be actually a lot more palatable of a female lead than a lot of female leads. I really did like, by the end of the book, Jason, the male lead, was very, it was a little more pacifist. Like, they're close to the end of the book, he gets like beaten up by a guy, and for the first time he doesn't fight back. The whole thing being he's learning to control his temper and like understand that there are more important things than feeling like you need to beat everybody and protect yourself, when if he had fought back it would have been this huge problem, because he was already like dealing with legal trouble for, I don't, they never say, but it's, I think it's assault, because like he gets really drunk and breaks a shot glass and like threatens to stab a bartender, and that's like one of the big conflicts of the book. Anyway, I'm pretty neutral on the pregnancy trope thing. I think it was handled pretty well here. I liked the fact that at no point did Evelyn ever be like, oh, I'm not going to tell Jason, oh, I'm going to hide it from him, I'm not going to let him make the decision with me if he wants to be in the baby's life. Like, she was there, and even when they weren't together as characters and they weren't even really friends because like they'd had a falling out, she was still like, okay, this is how we're gonna like work on figuring out how to co-parent, you're gonna come to the appointments with me if you want to, you know, we can find out the gender. Like, she was there 100% to let him be a part of the baby's life. And I feel like that is something that gets missed so often, is with these pregnancy tropes, people, generally the woman will like leverage the baby, even unintentionally, for the male lead to do what they want, and that's really not what happened here. And Evelyn just handled it really, really well, and I was quite actually impressed, and that stood out to me as probably one of the shining moments of the book. I also appreciate the fact that like Jason is an actual like MMA fighter. We're not talking like underground fight rings, we're talking like sanctioned MMA fights. And I just think it was kind of cool to have this protagonist that like, yeah, he's a bad boy and all this stuff, but like he's not actually doing anything illegal other than, you know, the bartender thing, but that's a whole different thing. So yeah, I liked that. That was something I liked about the book. I don't believe it has any sequels or anything like that, but I enjoyed it, and I would read another thing from this author, absolutely. But line breaks, man. Whew. So before I get into the 6 alien romances that I read this month, real quick, I'm going to talk about the new Janine Frost book, The Other Half of the Grave. It's the first book of the Night Hunter series, but from Bones' perspective. I'm gonna do a whole video on it because I have a ton of thoughts, mostly good. I quite enjoyed it. It's entirely self-indulgent. It's the story from Bones' perspective, and he's in love, and it's hilarious. But yeah, that's a whole video in and of itself. But I absolutely loved that. I've been so hotly anticipating this book. It's my most anticipated book of the year, and it absolutely lived up to that. Like I said, it's entirely self-indulgent. Like, don't go into this thinking this is gonna be something mind-blowing in the sense that it's a story you've never heard before. It's not. It is the Bones perspective of the first book in the Night Hunter series, which has been out for like 15 years. It's not new, but it's fun. It's so fun, and Cat and Bones are such a dynamic, powerful couple, and to see where they begin, because of course the first book is so rife with problems and communication, and not the miscommunication trope, but just the fact that they don't know how to talk to each other and all of this stuff. It becomes incredibly fun to see it from Bones' perspective. And I'm gonna shut up now because I have to make a whole video about this. So The last 6 books that I read this month are all in the alien subgenre, like alien romance subgenre. They are all by one woman named Honey Phillips, and the reason for this is the same reason as the werewolf book I picked up, which is I typed in alien romance, found ones that didn't look non-conny, but like close to the top of the list, and I found, I'm pretty sure this is actually a novella length, but it was called Krampus and the Crone, Horned Holidays #1 by Honey Phillips. This is the summary. Can a horned alien warrior and an isolated woman grant 2 children their holiday wish for a family? Jael is lonely, ostracized by the village like her mother and grandmother before her. She poses as an old witch in order to eke out a meager living selling herbal remedies to people who don't want to admit they need her help. When children start disappearing from the village, she is determined to find an answer to the riddle. She doesn't expect to find a massive horned alien, one who sees through all her disguises. Since crash landing on KRS-3, Commander Krampsarian Demanshander spends his time working on his ship and secretly observing the other inhabitants. During his explorations, he discovers a strange, beautiful female. It is an impossible attraction, but when he sees her treatment at the hands of the other villagers, he decides she is his to protect. A sweet and steamy holiday tale featuring 2 precocious orphans, a determined heroine, an unexpected hero, and of course, a very happy ending, intended for mature audiences. I liked this. I will fully admit it. It was short and sweet. The only thing I didn't like that absolutely brings this down to a not sure how I feel about it, was the fact that, like, he has a little drone thing that, like, is spying on the villagers, which, okay, that's fine. But then he sees this woman, he's entranced by her, he follows her, and eventually spies on her while she is, like, sleeping, and I think, yeah, and, like, some other stuff. And, oh, don't do that. Like, I get it, he's an alien, he doesn't understand boundaries, but, and I don't think she ever finds out about that. She, like, finds out that at one point he, like, peeks in on her from her window, but I don't think she knows about the drone. Anyway, so I dislike that. But the rest of it I actually enjoyed. It's silly. Krampsarian, because he's Krampus, and he has, like, a little sack that he puts the children in because it's some sort of, like, thermal thing. I don't know. Anyway, it was funny. The children end up being happy. Everybody's happy. It's a cute ending. Whatever. And I was like, okay, this is kind of funny. It's campy, whatever. I liked it. And I liked the way it ended, which is he, like, saves the town from an avalanche by crashing his spaceship into it. So then he's stuck there with them, but, like, he's aware of that, he's okay with that, and he will help them, you know, make their village prosperous again. And, you know, they get to be a family. It's cute. So that was fine. That was fine. And then I read, because there's a Horned Holidays #2 called A Gift for Nicholas. And it is exactly what you think it is. Can a single mother show an arrogant alien warrior the true meaning of the holidays? Jenna is a hard-working single mom with no time for fairy tales. She dismisses her daughter's stories of a mysterious horned Santa living in the woods as no more than the imagination of a precocious child, until the day her daughter doesn't return home. Her frantic search leads her to a crass spaceship and a massive horned alien warrior. He's bossy, arrogant, and has a loneliness which matches her own. When Ambassador Nicole Sarian... There we go. Chief rival doesn't return after the distraction he arranged. He refuses to admit he's concerned, but when the months pass without word, he finally sets out to investigate, only to have his own ship crash on the backwater planet of KRS-3. Before he can determine if similar fate befell the other male, his mission is diverted by 2 of the most fascinating creatures he has ever encountered. A small child who shows no fear of his mighty horns, and a beautiful female who is equally unimpressed with his mighty sword. Trapped together by an early snowfall, Jenna and Nicholas find an unexpected comfort in each other's company. It is the season of giving, but she has a daughter to raise and he's looking for the fastest way off the planet. What could they possibly have to offer each other? A sweet and steamy holiday tale featuring a determined single mom, a reluctant hero, and of course a very happy ending, intended for mature audiences. I liked this one more. It was pretty good. Actually, the drone thing spying on the woman was a thing again, except I don't think anything was intimate. He just like had the little drone like living in her house as like the kid's pet, which, and she actually finds out about it and she freaks out and she forgives him really quickly and like doesn't seem particularly bothered. I'm a little bothered by it, but whatever. But no, it was good. I preferred the characterization of Jenna's child over the 2 orphan children from the first one. I found Nicole Sarian to be actually quite an interesting and slightly even layered male character, which for a novella like this, you don't necessarily expect deep characterization. But Nicole Sarian has actually quite an interesting backstory and is very interesting in how he feels about what he did to Krampus Sarian. Sorry, these names. Honey Phillips, A+ on these names. Like, A+. This is great, okay? That is super, super great. I'm so impressed because it's funny, it's Christmas themed, and I just love it. Also, if you're wondering why the child thinks he's Santa Claus, the answer to that is because his like thermal suit is red, so, and he has like a big white beard, so the kid thinks he's Santa. And of course, there's the thing close to the end where it's like, what do you want from Santa this year? And of course she wants a dad, and so then he's her dad, and it's cute. And actually at the very end, and I loved this inclusion, Nicholas there goes and actually meets up with Krampus Sarian, and they like put their rivalry behind them because they've both crash landed on this planet and now are married and happy with children with these female, like human females, and that's a thing. So yeah, that was fun. So then, because I had enjoyed those a decent amount, I was like, okay, let's see what else Honey Phillips is up to. And she has a series called Folsom Planet Blues. It's 4 books. And I didn't like them as much. Spoiler alert. It's called Alien Most Wanted Caged Beast is the first one. This is the summary. One minute, Amanda is crying over a Hallmark movie and binging chocolate. The next, she is being offered as a prize to the winner of a brutal contest in an alien prison. And the biggest, scariest alien of them all just won her. A cheating boyfriend is the least of Amanda's worries when an alien appears in her living room. Discovering she has been sold to an alien prison is terrifying. Seeing 2 males fight to the death for her is horrifying. But the massive red male who looks at her with such hunger, he could destroy her. Left to rot with the other undesirables, Riker's only focus is on escape. He has no intention of fighting for anyone's entertainment, until he sees the soft, beautiful female being offered to the victor. A female is the last thing he needs, especially one who arouses his mating instincts, but neither can he resist her. Can he protect her from the vicious guards, the evil warden, and from himself? Please note that Alien Most Wanted Caged Beast is the extended version of the short story originally published as part of the Alien Embrace anthology, intended for mature audiences. So I will say, I liked this first one, I think, the most. As somebody that doesn't read alien romance, the concept was intriguing to me, and I liked the idea that, you know, this was going to be sort of, he was going to take on this protector role, and I was okay with that. The big thing for me was that it's like a darker romance. There's some pretty heavy themes, especially relating to non-con and stuff like that. Not between the like the male female leads, but there's a lot of implication of like other things that other people would do to her and all this stuff. And I think it's handled actually with quite a bit of grace, in the sense that nothing is, it's how do I put this? It is as graphic and explicit as it needs to be to get the point across without being gratuitous. And I think that's important, because I think there is a line you can straddle, and I think Honey Phillips has found the line and is doing a really good job with it. So the whole thing is that like these aliens are like able to kind of sense whatever their mates, and I think Amanda, you know, rightfully, she just wants them. That's fine. I don't have an issue. It's fairly insta-lovey, which most of these are, and I don't really care. If it's well done, I don't care. And this is definitely that, but once again, not done poorly. I enjoyed it. The second half of the book where they escape the prison and they're like trying to navigate their way through like the deadly jungle. I liked that part less, in the sense that it was a bit of a tonal shift. And that's fine. She needed them to be able to get out, and there was a bunch of stuff that this extra bit had to set up for later books. So I totally understand that. I get where it's coming from. Didn't make it any less of a little bit of a slog to get through that back half of the book there where they're in the jungle. But not bad. So then the second book, called Prison Mate. This is the summary. When Lori finds herself on a dangerous prison planet, an even more dangerous alien warrior is her only hope for survival. After a bad breakup, Lori is determined to make some changes in her life. Being transported to an alien prison isn't what she had in mind. When the monstrous warden casually tosses her to one of the massive inmates, her fate is all too clear. She should be terrified. Instead, the big alien warrior arouses an unexpected passion. Unlike his brothers, Ultras hasn't always been on the right side of the law, but when he discovers that one of them has been wrongfully imprisoned, he is determined to free him. After his first attempt goes horribly wrong, he recklessly decides to have himself incarcerated as well. He didn't expect a luscious human female to complicate his plans, but that won't stop him from claiming her. Now all he has to do is find his brother, free them all from the prison, and convince his mate that he's not really a criminal after all. Simple, right? This steamy romance is intended for mature audiences. Yeah, so I guess I accidentally buried the lead a bit here. The first 3 books center around the 3 brothers, and then the last book is about a different inmate that pops up in each of the books briefly, and you're like, oh, he's kind of cool, and I was excited to see that he was the 4th book, like he was the romance option for the 4th book. Now, this second book is also pretty decent. Ultras isn't my favorite of the 3 brothers, but I did actually quite like Lori as a protagonist. And yeah, I don't have a lot else to say. They also end up going to the jungle close to the end of the book, and then of course meeting up with Riker. And that was fine. The jungle's sort of this meeting place, and you get the impression, okay, everybody's gonna end up in this jungle, and that's fine. It wasn't quite as, because I kind of knew he was going to be running into his brother, the jungle part didn't feel as much of a slog, which was nice. The 3rd book in the series is called Mastermind. Can an icy alien warrior save the woman who finally thaws his frozen heart? Sophie's life is a mess. She's broken on the verge of losing her home. Her former lover and former boss wants nothing to do with her or the child growing inside her. Just when she thinks life can't get much worse, she's kidnapped and transported to an alien prison, where when she's presented to a sternly forbidding and disturbingly attractive alien lord, she expects the worst. Instead, she discovers a hidden streak of tenderness beneath that icy exterior. Levent believes in control. Everything in his life, from his quarters to his relationships, is arranged to his exact specifications. When his brothers need help, he has no choice but to go to their rescue. From the moment he arrives on Folsom and discovers his brothers are missing, his restraint starts to slip. But the most unexpected challenge to his formidable control is a beautiful, forbidden human female. As more and more secrets are revealed, can he find a way to save Sophie, his brothers, and perhaps even himself? Although each book in the Folsom Planet series can be read as standalone romance, there's an underlying story arc that continues through the series. This sweet and steamy romance is intended for mature audiences. I personally think Sophie and Levent, because I'm a big fan of like stoic males, like, you know, the ice slowly thawing, this is my favorite of the relationships, although not my favorite of the books. That still goes to number 1. But this was my favorite like relationship dynamic, and yeah, it was fun. It's fine. Levent is a very fun character because he is so, everything has to be so perfect, which I appreciated that, and it's even to his detriment sometimes, which, you know, makes it a flaw. and I think that that can be a fun thing to explore. He also ends up in the jungle with his brothers. It's great, and then they get off the planet and leave, and then everybody basically lives happily ever after. I don't have a whole lot to say about these without going into a very long review, which is not what I want to do. So the last book in the series is called Unchained, and it involves a character who was in the other 3 books briefly called Squint, which is a hilarious name, but it's alien names, so he gets a pass. Can an alien warrior reap his revenge without losing the woman he loves? A debilitating medical condition has taught Marcy to live her life within carefully maintained boundaries. The one time she allows herself to test those boundaries, she is abducted and taken away from her restricted life. But being thrown into a dark alien prison cell isn't the worst thing that could happen to her. There is comfort in the darkness and in the huge, mysterious alien who challenges her mind and her heart. Squint learned in the most painful way that no one could be trusted. Despite his captivity, he utilizes his formidable skills to plot a suitable revenge. Just as his plans are coming to fruition, he is gifted with a tantalizing female. He knows there are strings attached to the gift, but he finds her almost impossible to resist. A corrupt prison, an endangered species, and an evil sibling. He didn't think the stakes could get any higher. He was wrong. Although each book, yeah, and then it's the same thing as before. So, I was so excited for Squint to get a romance, because I thought he was kind of funny in like a brooding, mysterious, like that guy's kind of an asshole but you're cheering for him type way in the other 3 books. And this was pretty underwhelming. He's actually like this kind of scientist dude, and he basically has a plan to take over the planet, like to turn it back into jungle so that the creatures that are living in the jungle get their home back and all this stuff, which, like, it's a noble goal. I have no issue. He's a good guy. Like, he's good aligned, you know, if we're gonna do alignment charts here, he's good aligned, but he's just uninteresting. His romance with Marcy is also pretty uninteresting. There is a bit of a lack of like chemistry between them, which is funny because they're scientists. But jokes aside, I think the fact that it is kind of insta-love for all of these lends all of them to, there's just no, it doesn't feel like there's any depth to any of the relationships because they've known each other for like 24 hours. And due to that, I have a very hard time feeling the connection between a lot of these characters. And Squint and Marcy are really not different. I liked the fact that Squint is like very much, he's still humanoid, but like there's a lot more to him. He has wings and stuff like that. And I thought that was kind of a cool turn because yeah, he's a little bit less humanoid than the other ones, but it doesn't really end up mattering, other than like he has wings and, you know, they were talking about possibly having sex in the air, but then that didn't happen, which, like, don't tease me. So yeah, it was fine. I think it kind of, to me, ended on a little bit, I'm not going to say a sour note, just kind of a meh note. I would really like to read more because I was enjoying myself. There's like, there's nuggets in these books of things that I think are fun, and I think a longer book with a little bit more build-up, right? Insta-love's fine, but there's just, it feels like there's really no build-up to anything. I think would have been good. I have some other like alien romance books that I actually downloaded from Kindle, and I'm going to read them this month maybe, and I'm already through one. Like I'm like halfway through, but I'm like, I don't want to read more of it. I'm bored. We'll see. But yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at. Those are my 9 books I read over the course of April. Like I said, kind of a light month, but there was a lot going on, and it was all romance, which then of course I get kind of burnt out, but I'm on a mission to find like new romance subgenres I like, and yeah, we'll see. I guess you'll know for next month's wrap up if I continued with any of these, although my TBR pile of other things is piling up. So that is it. All right, that's all I got for this video, so thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.